From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Rain is falling here downtown Indianapolis and across much of central Indiana. On this Storm Team 6 alert day, Todd's tracking the potential for flooding. Plus,
it's safe, it's easy to clean afterwards as well while they await parent pickup.
schools across Indiana are doing whatever they can to remain open and stop the spread of the coronavirus. This morning, the unique step one school district has taken to keep students safe. And the lines at polling places around Indianapolis have been hours long. Working for you, we're looking at what it takes to get more early voting sites open. But first, here at 4:30, I want to thank you for joining our team on Good Morning Indiana. It is Thursday, and it is a Storm Team 6 alert day. Todd, the rain is coming down pretty consistently, I would say, for my drive into work this morning.
Yeah, you know, it started after midnight, and it's been heavy at times here through the early morning hours, and it's going to continue to be heavy at times throughout much of the morning. A live look at Storm Team radar on this alert day, and you can see all the yellows and the oranges. That's a heavy rainfall, and we'll take you down into some of those areas. Bloomington down towards Lake Monroe through Nashville down into Story. Columbus, some very heavy rainfall, and this is now stretching into southern portions of Johnson County near Edinburgh and over into southern Shelby County. We slide back off to the west, Brazil, into Danville, up to Brownsburg, some pretty heavy rainfall, and then around the metro area, this heavy band just to the west of downtown, and then stretching up towards the Castleton and Geist area. It's a little lighter, but still steady as you work your way towards Franklin Township, and then as we expand further to the north and to the east, Anderson over to Muncie to Winchester down into the Richmond area. We are dealing with some pockets of very heavy rainfall. Now, it's just rain. There's no lightning out there, not expecting any thunderstorms. The bigger picture shows the remnants of Zeta moving through Atlanta right now. This is combined with another area of low pressure here off to our west. What's going to happen is this real steady and heavier rain will be with us throughout the morning commute. And then once we get past the lunch hour, the rain's going to start to taper off just a little bit. We're not going to get rid of it, but we'll taper it off to more in the way of a light, steady rainfall. And then to the north, it's just some spotty showers. So overall, today is going to be a very wet day for us from start to finish, with this morning, though, Lauren, featuring the heaviest of the rainfall throughout the entire day.
All right, Todd, and it is a great day to make sure that you have the Storm Shield app downloaded on your smartphone. Our app allows you to zoom right down into your neighborhood. Plus, it'll give you weather alerts just as soon as they've been issued. So search for Storm Shield in your smartphone's marketplace. Taking a look at traffic right now as the rain is coming down for your morning commute. We are monitoring a semi-crash right now. This is on the east side of town. You can see on our camera here, crews are at the scene working this one. It's in the westbound lanes of I-70, again near Emerson Avenue. So this is what you'll encounter as you're heading into the downtown area and the westbound side. So keep that in mind. But overall, traffic is not delayed through that spot, and around central Indiana, things are traveling up to speed. Let's get straight to the coronavirus pandemic and its continuing impact here on our state. This morning, the state health department confirms 2,587 new coronavirus cases. It's the highest number of new cases reported since Saturday. Since the pandemic began, more than 169,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. State health officials also say 33 more Hoosiers have died with COVID-19. Since March, nearly 4,000 Hoosiers have died with the coronavirus. And as we prepare to close out the month of October, let's take a closer look at the number of coronavirus deaths since July. October, with 591 reported deaths, is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. As you can see, it surpasses September by more than 260 deaths. The Indiana National Guard will deploy on Monday to more than 133 nursing homes throughout the state of Indiana to provide COVID-19 assistance. The Guard will help long-term care facilities with testing and registration, infection control and monitoring, visitor screening and wellness checks. The goal is to help nursing home staff and patient care on reducing the spread of COVID-19 within the nursing homes. Although the initial launch focuses on facilities hardest hit by the virus, the plan is to deploy more than 1,300 National Guardsmen to all 534 long-term care facilities across the state by the middle of November.
Indiana National Guard troops are well trained and ready to assist with keeping long-term care facility residents and staff members safe and protected during this health crisis, just as we do during other types of domestic emergencies.
National Guardsmen are getting training this week at Camp Atterbury. All Guardsmen will be tested for COVID-19 before being placed in long-term care facilities. 2,309 nursing home residents have died with the virus. That's 58% of all the state's deaths. Yet long-term care facilities only make up about 6% of positive cases. This morning, we continue to wait for a coronavirus vaccine to become available. On Wednesday, we received new information about when one might be available here in the state of Indiana. At the governor's press briefing, State Health Commissioner Dr. Christina Box provided what she called a brief update. This is the doctor's first appearance at the briefing since she tested positive for COVID-19.
We have been told by the federal vaccine coordinators to expect some doses of the first vaccine by late November and possibly a shipment of the second vaccine in mid-December. We do not know how much Indiana will receive yet, but we expect the supply to be limited in the beginning. The vaccine plan that we submitted to the CDC calls for initial doses to go to healthcare providers and other vulnerable populations.
Dr. Box added this is a rapidly developing situation and a lot is subject to change. She also wants to make clear that we are still months away from a widely available vaccine. She stressed the continued importance of wearing a mask, washing your hands, and practicing social distancing to bring numbers down. Well, schools across central Indiana are facing daily challenges to remain open and avoid spreading COVID-19. One of Ashley Lusby's daughters attends Mount Vernon Middle School. The state school dashboard shows 5 students at her school have tested positive for the virus. Lusby says one of her biggest fears is her daughter missing out on middle school experiences. Leaders at Mount Vernon say students and staff members have responded well to new expectations related to the coronavirus, but when somebody does show symptoms of the virus, they use this temporary quarantine room.
Middle school, due to the unique size and how tight it is in their clinic, we needed space for multiple quarantine rooms.
So therefore, when we have a student who has COVID-like symptoms, flu-like symptoms, and they need to go home, we can quickly isolate them.
Well, Hamilton Exhibits, based out of Indianapolis, started developing these rooms after seeing a need for schools to safely reopen. The marketing company says they sell the rooms to schools at cost. Indianapolis public school leaders are outlining the state of the district, and that includes helping students and families get through this pandemic.
Our commitment to each other in Indianapolis public schools goes far beyond physical safety. It's about making sure our families and our staff are seen and taken care of as whole people. That meant a huge effort to make sure students had what they needed to be okay and to learn. Together with our partners at Gleaner's Food Bank, we handed out more than 3 million meals between March and July. Together with local community organizations, we opened student support network sites and learning hubs with free meals and supervision so that our families, especially those experiencing homelessness and those of essential workers, could know their children were learning safely.
IPS started out the school year with all virtual learning. The district transitioned to in-person classes this month. Well, we've shown you scene after scene of long early voting lines in Marion County, and now we're getting answers as to what it takes to add more early voting sites here. Indiana law requires a unanimous vote by the County Elections Board in a public meeting to approve additional early voting locations. Marion County Deputy Clerk Russell Hollis says his office will ask the Elections Board to use Lucas Oil Stadium as an early voting site this weekend. But in order for that to happen, it needs a vote in public meeting. That's scheduled to happen on Friday.
But if approved, we can have more equipment at that site than we will at any of the other early voting locations, which would mean that a line that's roughly the size that we're seeing behind us can move through much faster than they're moving through right now.
We'll be sure to send you a push alert on the Wrtv app if that plan is approved. This morning, the death of a 30-year-old Indianapolis mother is bringing to light alarming racial differences in maternal mortality rates. Janice Wallace was finishing up her physician's residency here in Indianapolis about a month before baby Charlotte was due. Janice was diagnosed with preeclampsia, and things quickly escalated when she started having pain in her abdomen. Doctors rushed Janice in for a cesarean, but things never really turned around.
African-American women and women of color, but primarily African-American women, are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during pregnancy or delivery than any other group of women.
Well, Shanice was an organ donor and she saved 5 lives. Experts say in order to make real change, it will take treating women of color with the same urgency and attentive ear as any other patient. This morning, Breonna Taylor's mother is calling for a new grand jury trial in her daughter's death. Still ahead, why she says the evidence in this case against Louisville police officers wasn't properly presented. Todd.
As you go throughout the day today, have the rain gear handy. It's a soaker of a day for us, especially this morning where periods of heavy rainfall are likely. We'll taper it off a little bit later on this afternoon, but overall a very wet Thursday with the potential for some flooding. We'll talk all about it coming up in your WRTV Storm Team forecast when Good Morning America, or Good Morning Indiana rather, continues here at 4:40.
Welcome back. The time right now is 4:43 on our Thursday. We have a rainy morning commute, and here's a live look at I-70 a little east of State Road 39 to our west. You can see traffic there is traveling up to speed. Just use caution as you're taking to the roads. We'll keep you updated on any crashes or delays that could slow down your commute. This morning, we are 5 days away from the election, and President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden both using the final days of campaigning to talk about the coronavirus pandemic. As ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports, their messages are very different.
5 days to go and a record number of votes already cast, the final sprint of the race for the White House dominated by the coronavirus. As COVID cases surge in 45 states and the death toll exceeds 227,000, both candidates are holding fast in their starkly different views of the pandemic.
Hello, Phoenix.
In states like Arizona, where infections and hospitalizations are spiking, President Trump is flouting public health guidelines during packed rallies and downplaying the virus.
A safe vaccine is coming very quickly. You're going to have it momentarily. That eradicates the virus, and we're rounding the turn regardless.
While former Vice President Joe Biden kept a lower profile Wednesday, emphasizing the toll of the virus and the importance of science.
I'm not running on the false promise of being able to end this pandemic by flipping a switch. But what I can promise you is this. We will start on day one doing the right things. We'll let science drive our decisions.
Biden slamming Trump's handling of the pandemic as new audio obtained by CNN sheds light on how the president undermined his own administration's guidance for a gradual reopening of states in April. The president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, told Bob Woodward at the time the president wanted to take credit for the country's reopening.
He's going to own the open up. That basically was, we've now put out rules to get back to work. Trump's now back in charge. It's not the doctors.
Dr. Anthony Fauci responding Wednesday, saying if states had followed the plan to reopen more gradually, the COVID-19 surge now wouldn't be happening.
If everybody had done that uniformly, I don't think we would be in the position we're in right now.
Both President Trump and former Vice President Biden will be in battleground Florida today, where they will court a shrinking number of voters who have yet to cast their ballots. Nearly 7 million people in the state have already voted. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
At 4:45, Breonna Taylor's mother is not happy with the way Kentucky Attorney General handled her daughter's case. She's asking the Kentucky Prosecutors Advisory Council to appoint an independent prosecutor. Tamika Palmer says her daughter deserves a prosecution team who can evaluate the case from, quote, unbiased lens. Palmer's attorney says that information provided by grand jurors confirms the presentation of the case was, quote, flawed. One former Louisville Metro Police Department detective there was charged with wanton endangerment in this case, but no one was charged in connection with Taylor's death. Hurricane Zeta has made landfall in Louisiana, and the storm has become the 5th to do so this hurricane season. Unfortunately, Zeta has already killed one person. A 55-year-old man died after being electrocuted by a downed power line. The storm being felt in Mississippi as well. Cars look more like fishing bobbers in Biloxi. The storm is impacting a large portion of the country east of the Mississippi River, including us here in central Indiana. And for more on that, let's go over to Todd.
Yeah, you know, that storm system's moving through Atlanta right now and kind of indirectly impacting us as it's interacting with an area of low pressure that's off to the west. So it's kind of a combo giving us this heavy rainfall this morning. So this morning the rain is steady and it's heavy. It tapers off to light but still fairly steady this afternoon. And then this evening is when it tapers off, but there's that flood watch in southern locations. So let's go over to radar, and you see a lot of yellows and oranges here. That indicates some pretty heavy rainfall, and we'll take you here into the northern portion here of Marion County, back into portions of Hendricks County, Danville down to Clayton to Brownsburg. Some heavy rainfall, Speedway as well. Getting back into the moderate rain here in Indianapolis, then all the way north into Washington and Pike Township, over into the Castleton and Geist area. Warren Township on the east side dealing with some pretty heavy rainfall. We slide to the south. There's this real heavy band of rain in between Edinburgh and Columbus right now. So this is impacting I-65, and that extends back into Nashville as well as Bloomington. And then Noblesville, Carmel to Anderson, Muncie. You just see all these yellows here. Winchester into Richmond. Some pretty good rain. It is a little bit lighter as you work your way into Frankfort as well as Kokomo, into Logansport and Delphi and Monticello. But we're going to deal with this rain throughout much of the day. It came in shortly after midnight. This cluster here, that's Zeta moving through, so that's not going to directly hit us. But you notice how all this rain, and then we have this area of low pressure here off to our west. That's all going to have to make its way through the area as we go throughout the day today. I'll give you the big picture first. You see Zeta moving off towards the east. We're still on the backside of this system. There may be a little window in the afternoon where we get a bit of a break before the back edge of the storm system moves through with another burst of rain later on this evening. Here's the closer view. Very heavy and steady rainfall throughout much of the morning, including your morning commute. Once we get to the lunch hour, still some heavy rain off towards the east, tapering off in western locations. And here's that little bit of a break. Still going to be rain around. It's just not as heavy as it is this morning. And then as we continue into Friday, we're seeing the rain decrease and finally an opportunity to dry out. But rainfall totals today, probably 1 to 3 inches in southern locations, less as you work your way to the north. And it's in those southern locations that we have the flood watches posted. No warnings as of yet, but we still have quite a bit of rainfall to get through for the day today. 40s and 50s, we're well above freezing, so you don't have to worry about any wintry precipitation. And then as we go throughout the day tomorrow, we get the sunshine back. It's a cooler day. High temperatures right around 50 degrees. For your weekend, Saturday, we're up to 56. Should be a decent day with mostly sunny skies. Sunday's cooler at 47, and it's also pretty windy on Sunday, so keep that in mind if you have plans. Monday morning in the 20s, a hard freeze for the area. And then Monday up to 45 degrees. Election day, though, looking sunny at this point with a high temperature of 56. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. So let's take a look at traffic right now. A wet morning commute, and we have a semi-crash over here on the east side. This is the westbound side of I-70, a view here near Emerson Avenue. You can see that we do have one lane blocked at this time, but traffic is still getting by. There's no delays to report. Wet roads out there, so use caution as you're traveling through this spot. We'll keep you updated if there are any delays. So doctors say they've discovered a rare inflammatory disease impacting men, and it's very deadly. Scientists from the National Institutes of Health used a different technique to discover the VEXAS syndrome. It's impacted just 50 men in the United States so far, and it's killed 40%. Doctors usually track symptoms, but in this case, the doctors studied a list of 800 genes linked to the inflammation and compared them with people with undiagnosed illnesses. They hope it leads to faster treatment. Symptoms include unexplained fevers, blood clots, and inflammation of the lungs and blood vessels. The coronavirus pandemic and the opioid crisis on a collision course. The reason behind the increase in opioid deaths coming up new at 5 o'clock. We'll be right back. It is 4:54 on this Storm Team Alert Day, and we are monitoring rain coming down pretty hard for your commute throughout this morning. We also are monitoring some crashes, starting to get alerts of those on your interstate. So we're going to break down where those are at this morning. Just use caution as you're heading out there and give yourself a little bit of extra time for your commute so you can take it easy. This morning, the Colts are preparing for a weekend matchup against the Detroit Lions up in the Motor City. WRTV's own Brad Brown previews the game.
So how good are the Colts? Pretty quickly, we're all about to find out. Indy comes off its bye week with what should be some good momentum after a rousing win over the Bengals. Rested, ready to roll? Well, a warm-up to the main event comes this weekend against the Lions.
We focus situationally, offensively, certainly some of the areas that, that have been duly noted that we weren't as up to our standards in third down and red zone.
After that, the Colts will have to run the gauntlet through November. 4 straight games against teams that are all currently 5-1. The Ravens, the Packers, and 2 matchups in 17 days against AFC South leading Tennessee.
No guy on this defense is worried about stats and rankings That's pretty good outlook coming out of each game. Ranked as one of the best, but that's not our main focus.
The Lions won't be a pushover either. Detroit has won 3 of its last 4, including a late comeback win in Atlanta last weekend.
The one advantage is it's a chance to get healthy. So to the degree that you can get players healthy and get more guys playing, I think that's the biggest advantage.
Detroit has lost its first 2 home games to start the season. Butler's men's basketball schedule is coming together. The Big East announcing pre-Christmas games, including 3 for BU. The Bulldogs will open at home against St. John's on December 14th. A trip to Villanova 2 nights later. Providence comes to Indy on the 23rd. Butler was picked 8th place in the Big East preseason coaches poll. BU officials say they are working on protocols to have fans at Hinkle Fieldhouse for games this winter. Those will be announced along with more games in the weeks ahead. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
All right, it's a WRTV Storm Team alert day for the rain that's definitely going to impact your morning commute. Lauren's right next to me in the traffic center dealing with some semi-accidents on the interstates, several of them. She'll talk more about that coming up in the next half hour, but Easy does it on the roadways here throughout the morning hours. This rain will be steady and heavy at times, and it's going to continue throughout much of the day. We'll have much more on the rain, the traffic situation, and news headlines coming up here at 5 o'clock when Raphael joins Lauren and I.